2 Church Street, Tooting. Ralph Turner, Flat 2, 98 Bromley High Street. Gentlemen, come with me.
So here's the real scheme of what this whole movie is really about. This is what 99% of working class people would never see. The people that follow my channel, I guarantee the people that bought my course and they actually apply the material that I taught them, right? They'll see straight through this, right? And this is what I want to try to get people to really understand. Because it got to be more than one way for us to become economically successful than for us to go out here and do criminal activity. And I'm a working class person and I do something criminal. I got another working class person trying to kick my door in at 3 o'clock in the morning to take me to jail, right? Because their job is to safe keep wealth from wealthy people. And so what you just got is working class people on a cycle, on a hamster wheel, and nobody's going to get rich at the end of the day, right? I don't own private prisons. Nobody's going to get rich at the end of the day. But we're all supporting this thing that's designed to keep us really pretty much where we're at. We get a little bit of benefit, but we're never going to get wealthy doing this stuff. So here's the real scheme that 99% of working class people will never see. And this is what took me so long to make this video, because I don't just get on here and just freelance. I try to actually come with real content and a real topic, right? So I apologize for being late, but I can't pay a content maker. So the gold hits the market. The gold that was stolen hits the market. The problem is that it's very pure. It got serial numbers on it and it'll move the market, right? So the gold is good. The problem we got after we steal the gold is that it's very pure. It was pure gold. It got serial numbers on it. So it means it can be identified. 2, it'll move the market. Now, people that understand how the financial markets know what I mean when I say it'll move the market. You start putting that gold on the market, it's going to create an impact on the market, because the difference between gold and diamonds is that there's a spot price on the gold at any time during the day. So then once we start increasing the amount of gold in the market, it'll impact the spot price, right? And appreciate JLD. If you could give me the likes up, since I know nobody's paying for the video, you could just on the free level, get me the likes up. That'll help me get it out to more people, right? Because this is not paid content. So the first problem they had is that we can't move this gold as is because of these particular problems. So the reason why they got to the fence, right, is because he can solve that problem for them, right? So what they did was they mixed the gold with lower quality gold and they dripped it into the market. And they needed labor and paperwork to do that, right? So they dripped the gold into dripped it into the market slowly, right? And because in reality, it took years to do this. In the movie, it took like 2 months. Because, they can't have the movie go on for years. But in reality, it really took years for them to drip this into the market. And then what they also did was they took that pure gold and they merged it with lower quality gold so it wouldn't look suspicious, so they can get them serial numbers off of it, right? And so that's what was a solution. That's why I tell people, you got to be about implementation and action as opposed to just coming up with a bunch of ideas. This problem can't be solved with a bunch of people in the room trying to come up with the best idea. You got to say, here's a solution. Let's go do it. Right. And so that's why they went to the fence, because why? He could solve the problem for them. He wasn't going to just sit in the room and talk to them for 5 hours. OK, next problem. What do we do with the money? So now once we bring this into the market, we sell the gold, we introduce it back into the market. Now we got all this money. Right. Now, what do we do with the money? We buy real estate. Right. Which is what the old head was talking about. Notice that they didn't buy cars. They didn't go trick off. Right. They didn't get 30 girlfriends. Some of the men involved in this was already married when this happened. Right. So they did spend some money on their wife, but they didn't go get 30 girlfriends. Right. They didn't try to help their wife go live the soft life. They had a long-term vision for the money, because the goal was, we got to do something for our people with this money. This is our shot. Right. We come from poverty. Everybody in my family's broke. They don't have nothing. Nobody I know has ever had anything. So this is not an opportunity to just go crazy. So they said, we're going to go buy real estate. And that's what the guy was talking about, right? Go buy real estate. Now, how did they do it? You got 13 million pounds deposited in Brit banks. That come from the sale of the gold back into the market. 13 million, right? Deposited in banks in Britain. They moved the money from the British bank accounts to Swiss bank accounts. That's why they had to get the attorney, because he knew how to do the paperwork and facilitate that. So they got the attorney to help them facilitate that. So they move it into Swiss bank accounts. And people that understand Swiss bank accounts and what they're for, they know why they wanted to do that, right? Then you move the money from Swiss bank accounts into front companies. And in the movie, they had about 30 front companies to make sure that that took place, right? So we go from Swiss bank accounts, we move the money back into these front companies, right? Then the 30 companies that we have, they go by the properties. So the properties that we were talking about that were really not at a high value, that were going to get rezoned, right? That's what they will use to do. So the 30 companies don't go buy those properties, right? Then what we do with the properties is we redevelop the properties, right? This was property that nobody really wanted to live on. It pretty much was not desirable, but we redevelop it because what do we know? We know the zoning laws are going to change. This happens all over this country. There's areas in New York that was being bought up 10, 15 years ago, and people's like, well, why are they buying that? Because they know that the zoning law is going to change. They got the inside play. These are conversations we don't get made part of. They know the zoning law is going to change. Same thing with Chicago. Same thing with areas of Atlanta. The zoning laws are going to change in 10, 15 years. So we're buying this land now while it has no value to anybody. So that when they change the zoning laws, we can go in and redevelop it, and now we're in a desired spot. You understand me? So this is why I really encourage people to really change their conversation. Because it's different conversations going on that you're not even involved in because you're not even aware that this type of stuff goes on. So the old head, because he was older, he knew the game, he knew that's what to do with the money, right? He knew that the goal of this money is not to trick off and to go crazy with it and buy a bunch of jewelry and stuff. The goal of this money is to put this in best use for our group so we can have something at the end of the day, because I'm tired of my people not having nothing and being stuck in this one spot, right? Then you sell the properties. So once we get redeveloped, we sell them back into the market. The value has now increased. We send that money to front companies. Then we take that money, we move it from front companies to accounts in Liechtenstein, if I pronounce that properly. And at that time in the 80s, that was a tax haven. So they moved the money from one tax haven to another tax haven because what they're trying to do, they're trying to protect the money from taxes. Now, the rich do this all the time, right? But they never going to tell you, and you don't have enough money to do it anyway, so it don't matter that they tell it to you. You can't go to a Swiss bank account or go to, what's it called, Liechtenstein or whatever you pronounce this, with $5,000. You got to come at them people with millions of dollars, and then they'll bank with you. So this is the play that they was able to get with the attorney, and the attorney, I think in the movie, he took 25% of the money to do this right here, to set all this up. So to close out, right? When people don't know their class, they don't understand their real position in the world. And what we see is that over the past 2 decades, all class analysis has been erased and replaced with other identities. People got a million identities. Their identity change every 3 weeks, right? Their identity change every 3 weeks. They ask them what their class is, they can't tell you. And for many of us, right, your class is likely to be the same today as it was for your parents when you was their age. Look at your age you're currently at right now. Look at your parents when they was your age. What was the class? Not do you got an education? Because we think education in this country, we think formal education is a class status. It's really not, because of what you got to do to get the education, right? So then the question is, look at the people in your family. When they was your age, what was the class? What's your class right now today? And the way they got this country set up for people that are not informed and really don't know what to do, it'll probably be the same 2 decades in the future. That's what they're creating, because what we've seen is that all class analysis has been literally taken out of any kind of political discussion. People are everything else except their class. And your class really overlaps the color of your skin. That's one of the reasons why they don't want to touch it. Because they don't want a person in College Park and some dude in Iowa to realize they in the same class. They don't want that to happen because they're going to have a problem if that happens. So what they got to do is make sure that everybody got an identity that don't have nothing to do with class. And that's how they're going to keep this thing going for a little bit longer. Right? That's how they're going to keep it going. But I know your class because I know what you talk about. I know what you're pursuing. Right? It's no way in the world I'm going overseas and I can't get my piece, because I got a different mentality, right? But it's no way in the world I'm going to go somewhere and go overseas, and I know the deal going overseas is that I can't never own no land over there. Well, I know why y'all don't want me to own no land, because Y'all don't want me to improve my class position in y'all country. So I'm essentially on a long-term vacation. That's what I'm on. I'm on a long-term vacation over there. But if the girl is enough to make you take that deal, you take that deal. That ain't enough to make me take that deal. I need a better deal than that. But like I said, I think differently, right? So everybody got a right to do what they want to do. But it's a reason why even with the left don't do class analysis. The right don't do class analysis. They talk about everything else except that, right? So we now have a million different identities for people except their class. So then you organize around these different identities that they gave you, but none of it is involving your class, right? And nothing that they're telling you to do is ever going to improve your class situation. Why? Because that's not their job. Their job is to make sure billionaires stay billionaires and make sure you stay where you at. That's their job, right? So the question you want to ask yourself, and class has a lot of definitions. It's subjective. I'm giving you my definition, right? When I look at people, and I should have put debt on here too. First thing, do you own any land? I don't care how much education you got. So when let me give you an example. We got a segment of our population. We say, here's the prop. They the most educated. They start the most businesses, right? But we never say, do they own any land? Notice how that never get included to the analysis. Another dude was, most of them are middle class, which is false, as most of them over 50 that are married are really middle class if you really read the study. But it was never, do they own any land? And how do you define middle class? Does anyone in your family own any land? So do you own land, or does anyone in your family own any land? Because one of the things the wealthy have done in this world is deny people access to land. That's why I keep telling y'all, read about Pontiac's Rebellion. That's the real reason for the Revolutionary War. It's not about taxes on tea. That's a lie. But we know these people lie about their history, right? Denying people land, right? And people having conflicts over who gets the land is one of the longest running conflicts in the history of the world. Do you own any land? Does anybody in your family own any land? If you do own the land, can you use it as you desire? Or have they put so many restrictions on the land you can't do nothing with it? Because that's how they control you and keep you in a box. Well, other people get to do whatever they want to do with their land. Does your group have the ability to mass produce physical products that your group needs? Sorry about the typo. Can your group mass produce products? Do you have the capital to do it? Do you have the manufacturing ability to do it? Are you dependent upon everybody else to do it for you? Because that's a class distinction in my mind, right? Can you develop that ability in your group? Or are you like Kanye West? You need a bunch of other people to manufacture stuff for you, and they give you a payout, and you never get in your brain, well, let me take the payout and get with my group and learn how to do this on our own. I just complained about the payout deal. You've been working with them people over a decade. You still ain't figured out how to do that on your own? You don't have to do it on their level. You do it on your level. But I have no desire, because what's his class analysis? Like most of y'all, I get to be around them. That's my class analysis. They gave you just what you wanted. You get to be in their vicinity. That's all you ever wanted. You don't ever want to really be in control of the situation. So they're in control of the situation because that is a byproduct or indicator of their class. You don't want to be in control of nothing. You just want to be around them. So they gave you that. So you can't get mad now, right? So they know who to give the money to, because they're going to make sure that you never really change anything for your group by giving you that money. Do you have access to adequate health care? We got whole parts of this country where the people don't have access to basic health care. They don't have a hospital in their area. That impacts you. So if somebody gets hurt, who gives them the health care? Don't have it. We dealing with that in Atlanta. That was a big issue out there in Houston. East Houston don't even have a hospital in their quadrant. I was in the Sugar Land area. Man, it was 5 hospitals and 30 urgent cares out there because the people out there got money to pay for it. When your group no longer has money to pay for health care, you know what? You don't get no health care. You get sick, got to figure it out. That impact, that's to me, lack of health care is a class distinction. Because people that got money got access to health care, right? Do you control shelter for your group? We talked about these guys that grew up in UK public housing, where the government had to provide housing for them. That's a class distinction. Can you house your people? It's not for one group of the community to do it. It's the group to figure out how do we house our folks. So if you need another group of people to house you, I'm not talking about it's an emergency. I'm not talking about somebody doing bad. I'm talking about long-term, indefinite. Another group of people got to house us, right? That can be a class issue for you. We're not even going to go into the debt. That's a whole nother issue. That these people can sink you into so much debt that you can't get out of. I'm talking about business debt. I'm talking about consumer debt. So when we start talking about class, right, a lot of people can't even have the conversation because they don't even understand their class position. So they see themselves and other people. I don't know how you see yourself in Rihanna. How? You and Rihanna are not of the same class. I don't see myself in Jay-Z. Me and Jay-Z are not in the same class. So his class aspirations are going to be totally different than mine. Why? Because we're different classes. So just because Jay-Z was from the projects at one time, it don't mean that me and Jay-Z are of the same class. He's a billionaire. I'm not. What's going to protect his class position may not be the best thing for my class position. So we can have conflicting class goals. I have to recognize that and understand that. But a lot of us are so fanned out on people, right? We so fanned out on people. We can't come to that conclusion. So we're supporting them and what they're doing, which is a detriment to our group. And we don't even realize that. Right? So this is why they've taken class analysis out of any public discussion. We talk about culture wars. We don't talk about class. We talk about everything else. We talk about sexuality. We talk about race. We talk about everything else except class. But if you live in College Park, average income is $30,000 for a family of 4. Regardless of your biological sex, regardless of your sexuality, you know why you live in College Park? Because you're in a certain class. So you got something in common with everybody else living in that area. But you've been taught everything else is different. I'm so different than this other person that live right down the block from me. But y'all all live on the same block. So y'all all got the same problem. You can't afford to live anywhere else. You don't have the skills to live anywhere else. Or you may not be allowed to live anywhere else for whatever reason. So you're stuck in this part. You don't have access to good health care. We got areas of Atlanta where they got lead in the soil. That's a class issue. You don't find that with wealthy people where they got lead in their soil right outside their house. But like I said, your identity is everything except that. And that's how they got you. This was the smartest thing they ever did, was to take that analysis out of any educational material, to take it out of any public conversation. You don't find any political group talking about that that's going to get any traction on the mainstream. So then they got you focused on everything else while they're consistently building and strengthening their class. Right? That's all they're doing. So then when you look up, it's going to be impossible if these people have their way for you to get a foothold in this country. They want America to look like everywhere else. Well, if you born and you don't have it, you're never going to get it. So that was the issue with these guys in this particular show. They felt like, right, if they don't have it when they're born, I'm never going to get it. Right? They felt like if I don't have it when I'm born, I'm never going to get it. So as a result, I got to do whatever I got to do to get it. Right? And so, but the problem is that behavior breeds horizontal violence.